Good evening, YouTube world. I'm your host, Paul Italia. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button. If you're feeling this content, smash that like button. I'd like to introduce tonight's guest. You guys all might know him as a WAL superstar. Some might know him from the game of Arms. He goes by the name Lightning Luke Kindt out of North Cal. What's up, Luke? How you doing, brother?
I can call it. Long time no see. Where you been? I swear we're neighbors and I never see you.
Yeah, I'm actually on the other side of the country right now. I'm over at my New York place, visiting the family and all that. So, but I'll be back there next week and we could get some training going down. So I wanted to start off with just your basic stats and all. Just wanted to let the subscribers know your height, your weight, and your age.
I'm 6 foot. I walk around these days about 185, like eating everything. I live in Petaluma, California. Been arm wrestling for 20 years. That's pretty much that.
So let me ask you, 20 years, bro, you've been in the game. That's a real OG. How did you find arm wrestling?
Long story short, my buddy's dad arm wrestled and always used to brag about it. And I'm basically, the history of Petaluma, but it's the birthplace of arm wrestling. And we used to hear all the locals brag about the world championships. And specifically, my buddy's dad used to brag about how he gave one of the middleweight champs like a war, right? And he was just so proud of it his whole life. He used to brag about it. So us naturally as kids, we looked up to him because he was a hot rodder, had big old 18-inch arms, Portuguese, so we just idolized this guy as just hot rods, women, and arm wrestling, right? So from about the age of 15 to 18, all we did was arm wrestle every single day of our lives on every garbage can, tailgates, picnic tables, parties, everywhere. And we were like the group. There's about 5 of us that nobody wanted to really arm wrestle just because they knew we would just kill them. And it was kind of like a level of which, like, you had it in order. My buddy at the time, Manny, was better than me. And he was basically our super heavyweight. He was about 5'10", 230, 240 pounds. So when we go to parties, people would have to go through me before they go to him. And that just never happened because, I'd kill everybody, right? So later on down the road, I was really taking on a liking to arm wrestling, and my friends were too, but I wanted to kind of venture outside of just arm wrestling at parties and, the park and stuff. So first thing I did was we didn't have Google. We didn't have a home computer at my house. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but, when I was like 17 years old, what year was that? That was somewhere in the late 90s. And we didn't have a computer, so we didn't really have a lot of access to information online, nor did I even know what I was doing to look up an arm wrestling website, right? So eventually I came across some search engine and I just looked up arm wrestling and I found first event ever was Los Banos, I think the year 2000 or 2001. I'm terrible with years. I don't know how some of these guys remember stuff so well. So I went to Los Banos, I got 3rd place behind David Owens Jr., and I was hooked. And I was actually able to compete at the last World Wrestling Championship held in Petaluma in 2002, which was really cool just to say that I was a part of at least one of them. So
that's amazing, man. So let me ask you, before that tournament, I know you're from Petaluma, which is the birthplace of arm wrestling. Were you actually on an arm wrestling table before that tournament, or it was more of just, arm wrestling in the park wherever you could find a place to arm wrestle?
No, arm wrestling didn't really exist. And what's funny, for years, I searched and asked locals, where is this tournament in Petaluma? And nobody could give me any exact information on who to ask, where to go. All I knew that it was in October. So I remember driving around Petaluma the whole month of October, trying to see flyers or signs or some type of indication that this sport existed in Petaluma. I think I probably would have competed a few years before if I had if there was more information out there. But Before competing in Los Banos that first year, I had never been on an arm wrestling table. I don't think I bought my first arm wrestling table until I was in my early 20s when I realized that I actually had to practice if I wanted to get any better.
Wow. So did you have a mentor or anything, or somebody that you looked up there as a follower in arm wrestling?
Yeah, so as I moved my way through the novice ranks, once you go to the first event, Leonard and Denise were really good at sending you flyers. Once you're in that lifestyle, you start meeting people that call you and give you information as far as what's going on. So I got a flyer in the mail for a Harley pole, right, which was in Hollister, California. And at the time, I was like every other amateur today. I would pull novice and I'd pull open just because I wanted to see, not only did I want to win a trophy, but I also wanted to see where I was at in the pro category. So believe it or not, kind of funny, I went to this Harley pull and Simon Barachoa was there, but he was pulling in the 132-pound class, which was really weird because he heard a bunch of guys were going to show up, whatever. Nobody did, but he didn't pull 54s. He just stuck to his class. So it was me and a few other guys in the open 154. Well, I ended up winning right and left open pro, right, which was weird. Probably with nobody was in my class worth a shit that I don't even remember who I beat pretty much. But all I know is I got 2 keys. So it was me, Mike Solaris, Eric Wolfell, and I think there was one other person up on the stage. Anyways, Mike Solaris and Eric ended up splitting their keys. I think they had 4 or 5 total, and they ended up winning the bike, right? But I remember running into Bill Collins because it was his event, and I remember being like, he was the ref. I didn't know he was the promoter also. I thought it was separate, but I was like, hey, do you know anybody in the Petaluma area that arm wrestle? And he's just like, yeah, the best left-handed arm wrestler on the planet lives in Petaluma, California. I'm like, come on. And keep in mind, I'd already been competing for at least 5 years at this point. And I had absolutely no idea who Eric Wolfell was. I didn't know where he lived, anything about him. So all I know is this giant 300-pound fucking greatest arm wrestler in the world left-handed takes me under his wing. And as arm wrestlers, especially when you've been in the game for a long time, when you meet somebody that has that drive and that passion like you do to want to get stronger and to want to learn, it kind of inspires you and remotivates you to continue to get stronger and get better, because now you have this protege that kind of wants to follow in your footsteps. And it was really fun. It was a good experience learning how to all the techniques. Like Eric is such a smart arm wrestler. He's not just the strongest dude on the table. He's very smart. And there's stuff that he's taught me that I continue to remember today that's the guy that taught me. And then from that point, I met the arm benders and basically got my arm destroyed every 2 weeks for about 10 years. Kenny, Tom, the whole gang, Mike McGraw, Brian Brandon, all this massive.
Luke, can I just stop you for 1 second? I just wanted to let the subscribers know this is somebody that you guys should definitely check out. He's a legend in our sport. It's Eric Wolfell. He was the king of the 90s. He just dominated left hand, best left hand on the planet. He won the Golden Bear a couple times, and definitely somebody that worth checking out. He's from Petaluma, California, where it all began. He used to compete in the Worlds there. He won, I think it's like 13 titles, 11 left hand and 2 right hand. So definitely a legend of his sport. Definitely should show you respect, and definitely go look him up. So sorry to cut you off. You were on about the armbenders, and we're talking about Kenny Hughes, Tom Nelson, and who else was a part of that crew?
Randy Weaver, Brian Brandon. There was Michael Voss. There was a lot of guys. First thing that I learned, and this is probably a bad thing, and I would never teach this to any newbies now, but the one thing you learn really early on about the armbenders is they don't give out wins, right? At practice, everyone pulls as hard as they can every single time they're on the table. And people that are watching this video that have attended an arm, Kenny Hughes took it extremely serious. Every match, every practice, he didn't care. He was there to destroy you and pin your arm. Now that's got goods and bads because obviously the new guys like myself want to learn. And it's really difficult as you're going through the ranks in arm wrestling to see where you're at when everybody is so much stronger than you. It wasn't until I think I beat Mike McGraw like one time on accident, a big light bulb went off in my head that I found an angle. And that was like the magic ticket. It was like once I figured out this angle where I was able to control Mike's hand, like you got to remember, Mike has a massive hand for 176 pounds. Every name that I just mentioned are all very decorated, known world level athletes in arm wrestling. So to be able to go to their practice twice a month for over 10 years was really an honor. And I really think that has a lot to do with my success today and how I moved up through the ranks.